Owen, thank you for joining me today. I'm really pumped for this one. You've got a fantastic business. You've been with us a little while now. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time with you to unpack the journey and also help other coaches who are in a similar position to you or aspire to be where you are with some of the lessons and the model that we've helped you to apply along the way. So thanks for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure, Mark. And even before we get into any of that, one of the first things that I want to say, and I know you didn't tell me to say this, obviously, but if anybody's watching this or listening to this and you're thinking, should I join the program or should I reach out to see if they can help me do it? Because I think prior to you joining any sort of program or mentorship like this, you're going to have apprehension towards it, and you're going to have that little voice in your head saying you can do it yourself, wait longer, whatever it might be, but just do it. From my experience up to this point, there hasn't been a single negative from everything we've done. So I appreciate it from my side.
No, and I didn't say this. I asked you to say that. It was very kind of you to say that. So look, for anybody that's watching this, where were you just prior to coming on board with us, prior to making the phone call to say, look, I need some help? There were going to be coaches in a very similar position, more than likely, or even earlier than you in their career. Where were you in terms of revenue level, client numbers, and also your own mindset around where you wanted to be, but where you weren't?
Good questions. So I think mindset wise for me, I kind of want to touch on first, because I was almost in a place where I wasn't in a bad place with my business, because it had been doing well, and I love what I do and I love coaching the clients that I have. But what I had was clarity in terms of what I wanted from the business, but I didn't have clarity in terms of how to actually get there. And that's been the biggest thing for me, is knowing what I've wanted, but not necessarily understanding how to do it. So that gap between actually getting me to the place that I want was the reason why ultimately I reached out to you guys. In terms of revenue prior, I was consistently about 20K per month. Client numbers were, if I remember correctly, maybe 50 to 60 on a consistent basis.
Was there a coaching team in place there? Was it you? Were you doing everything?
So I was doing more than I should have been doing, and I had one coach with me, which I had with me for a number of months prior. But even though it was lean, and even though it was just me and him coaching team, I wasn't really even effectively training and upskilling him. So from that point, I felt like things were kind of messy. Obviously, clients were getting results, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew who I loved to coach. But I was doing a lot of the coaching alongside the other coach that we had, and it was kind of messy between us. Whereas now, even delivery and kind of systems and coaching wise, I have another coach who is alongside me and my original coach, but it's much more streamlined in terms of how to actually effectively train and upskill team members, which was just completely new to me. Essentially, I was kind of winging it in terms of what I thought what I thought I should have been telling him to do, or train him in the way that I felt he should have been. But obviously, since working with you guys, even just having clarity in terms of how to specifically get the most out of a person so they enjoy working with the business, but also how to consistently train them on specific things and upskill them with any challenges that the coaches have, and not just the clients, which is again
at that point you were at, Owen. At that point you were at, sorry.
All right.
At that point you were at, where you were kind of like around the 20K mark. I mean, some of the coaches, watching this video will not be at the 20K mark, but that's a great place to be at. Great revenue, great profit margin. People will be like, why does he need some help? Why does he want to get to the next level? What was the impact that it was having on you, that you were, or maybe more so the emotional or psychological feelings that you were getting, that was going, I'm just not where I could be, my potential? Because some people might think, like, why more than 20K a month? Like, why the desire to have a mentor to help you to go to another level? That may be a question. What was burning inside of you, or what was not working that made you go, something's broken?
Yeah, really good question. Like, I'm fully aware of the fact that 20,000 a month is a lot of money. Like it's a lot than even when I was younger thought I would ever get to, you know. But for me, and something that I've always looked at and thought about is I've never just purely been driven by money. Yes, it's important to me and I want to take care of the people around me long term. But what kind of drew me to you guys specifically was the numbers were there to a certain extent, but my feeling around the business wasn't the way I wanted it to be. Like something that I value a lot is my time and my energy and how I feel with my coaching and my business. And I knew that the feeling that I had with it wasn't what I wanted. It was me kind of doing a bit of everything. It was more stressful than I felt it needed to be. And I didn't have, as I said earlier, that kind of clarity in terms of what I actually need to focus on to keep building the team or building the business. So it was more so for me, yes, of course, I want to continue building revenue, but I wanted to do it in a way that it wasn't just adding more stress and more mental resistance towards the business in itself. And that's one of the main takeaways I've actually got from this. Obviously, revenue has grown, but it's grown in a way where the client delivery and service doesn't change at all. Like one of the biggest things for me is no matter how much we grow, the client delivery has to be the same. Because for anybody who doesn't know, I work with type 1 diabetics. I am type 1 diabetic myself. So I have a deep connection to the results and the progress that we make.
Yeah, you care massively. And your reputation's at stake.
Exactly. So for me, again, going back to it, the biggest shift has just been revenue grown. Obviously, team has grown, but my own personal confidence in terms of now kind of being a business owner and operator and clarity around how to keep growing has just been a game changer. And I don't say that lightly.
So this, therefore, is something that's very common with the coach that hits to 20K, but needs to shift to another level to get to the next level. It sounds like you've shifted from, which is something that we teach inside the program, shift from coach to business owner, CEO. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, 100%. Like I've two coaches now. I've somebody that helps book calls and actually get people that we can help inside the business. But also, even with the coaches that I have, like it's not messy. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how to train them. We do monthly reviews. I know what I'm looking out for KPIs wise for myself and the coaches and other team members. So it's interesting because, and even as I'm speaking, none of this is rehearsed and I'm obviously thinking about it as I'm saying it. But when you look, even 4, 5, 6 months ago, you look back on the type of person that you are, and you're a completely different type of person, which I think for me is a really exciting part of continuing to build a business. Because when your confidence as a person grows, like that has a huge impact on every area of your life. It's not just specifically revenue and business. You're growing and changing as a person, which for me is a very exciting thing. And I think a lot of people that want to run their own business can probably relate to that too.
No, I think what you've just said was just so important, because I've been doing this for 25 years and business mentoring for over a decade. What we want to help you to build is a solid and stable business that runs efficiently, which gives you time, but helps you to be emotionally stable with it. And that's not something that comes by going up as fast as you can just in revenue, because there's many different areas to fix, which I think we've just discussed off this call, that there's areas which we slow ourselves down deliberately to do if we're building a professional high value coaching brand, which is what you've got. You've got a quality service, great reputation. And if you did skyrocket the business just with revenue and just with clients, that could come with some catastrophic downsides, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's even something that me and you have spoken about in the past, where in reality, I probably could have just grown revenue really, really quick, but that wasn't just my main thing. I wanted to have that infrastructure in place with the business so that I do have a reliable team. I do enjoy what I do. The service and the quality of coaching for clients stays the same if we have 50 clients compared to 90 clients. And building that infrastructure has been just incredible for me. And as I said, when I look back to even 4 or 5 months ago. And the thought of doing monthly reviews with team members and tracking KPIs as consistently as I do, and training them in a specific way about the things that I know and how I've coached over the years, like I couldn't see it. It was too far, it was too far away. But now, obviously, going through the program and working with you, like it just has given me so much clarity around all of those aspects.
I love that. What would be some of the important aspects of the model that we've taught you, whether it's from messaging to delivering sales to leadership and training? If you were to just give a summary of the key things you've maybe implemented as a result of our direction into the business that's had the most impact, what would they have been?
Yeah, good question. I think the biggest thing for me was and something that I had a lot of resistance towards, and I obviously spoke to the other folks inside the program about this too. I always had resistance towards giving roles away because I care about who we work with, I care about what we do, and I really love coaching, and that's why I do it. But when I kind of got out of my own way in terms of training the right people in the right way, so that it doesn't impact the service or the coaching, it has just freed up so much more of my time to actually focus on the business. And something that I used to always hear was like, if you're in the business too much, you can't look at it and grow it. And that never really made sense to me personally until I've gone through this process. But now it just makes complete sense, and it's such an obvious thing. If I'm in it too much, doing the things that aren't really that important, then how can I expect the business to grow if I'm not actually looking at it from an objective standpoint? So going back to the kind of biggest lesson or shift that I've noticed is actually having the confidence to train people effectively to do the things that I don't necessarily have to do, so I can focus on the more important things to continue growing the business ultimately.
I love that. And whilst inside the program, what are the other key areas, maybe sales or anything else that you've learned that would just give people an insight? Because what I pick up from this, which is so important, that your ability to delegate and build the team and restructure the team and be more efficient with KPIs, most people will be thinking, it's got to be a fancy funnel he's built. It's got to be a specific ad strategy that he's built. But it's wonderful that you've got time. What are a couple of other things that kind of methodology-wise or systems we've helped you put in place that have actually helped the most?
I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but like it for me, it is just that kind of mindset shift of how do I get myself more into, let's call it like a CEO type of position within the business. And I know I'm kind of reiterating and
no,
repeating myself, but that has just been the biggest thing.
Do you know what I mean? I'll just say this while you're here. A lot of people will generally be looking for, what funnel did you build? What tactic did you build? What sexy thing did you build? You have such a great brand. And I'm really glad I asked you that question, because some people might be thinking, well, I need to give you something shiny. But the reality is a simple mindset shift to how I operate my business can open up an extra 20,000 a month.
Easy.
The operating structures, the systems, the KPIs, leadership. You could say I created better leadership systems, and people would be like, what? Like, where's the shiny, sexy thing? But that's opened up your headspace to be able to build the business.
Yeah. Like, the way I look at it is, if you wanted a new funnel, or you wanted, all of this type of stuff you see online all the time when it comes to online coaching, you can find that anywhere. That's the reality of it. You can go onto YouTube, or you can pay somebody to do it for you in some pre-made funnel. But that's not going to build a business. That's just going to give you quick cash this month, and then it's probably going to break the next month. So for me, what has been so important is actually building a business and building a company, so that no matter how many people are brought in, because ultimately my goal is to help quite literally as many type 1 diabetics around the world as possible. I wanted to be the biggest type 1 diabetic coaching company in the world. But it can't be that if it's not a business, and it's not something that has been built step by step by step that actually can accommodate for people and give them what they need, but also give me what I want from the business, and also the team members that we have what they want from the business. Like a funnel doesn't give you that, and like a quick shiny fix to something doesn't give you that. What does give you that, and much like I'm almost in the midst of now, and why I obviously continue to work with you, is because it is like a leadership sort of identity change over time that gives you that type of confidence to just build it step by step by step.
I love that.
That for me has been the biggest thing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Well, look, let's give everybody what they've been looking for, because they want to know, where are the client numbers with the business at the moment? What does the team kind of company structure look like now from, the you and one coach at the time doing 20K months? What's been your peak month, and where are you sitting kind of averaging?
Yeah. So revenue wise, we're averaging like 40K per month. Peak month has been about 43, 44. But team wise, it's really lean. Like even with my coaching team, essentially to me and 2 other coaches. And that's how I want it to be. I don't want to build a huge, big team if it's not necessary. I want to effectively train the people that I have so they're operating at a really, really high level. So revenue, like if you look at it objectively, revenue essentially has increased by 100%. I have more time, strangely enough, ironically, right? And also I'm more confidently training the team members that we have. But most importantly to me, with all of the changes that have occurred with my business, and even just occurred for me internally as a person, the service for the clients has stayed the same. Like the results is the same, if not probably actually better, because it's a better structured program and there's more team helping people throughout this process. And that's that's a huge thing for me. I don't want to grow too quickly where the service to clients is impacted. And that's one of the core values that is within this program too, where like yes, of course you want to help people build businesses and make a lot of money, but service and experience and progress and results is really, really, really fundamental to you, which stood out to me. And that's part of the reason why I think this has worked so well.
Love that. Thank you. Well, listen, you've talked a lot here about a couple of the lessons that you wanted to share that you picked up along the way. I think one of them you've covered, but do you want to just share the 2 lessons that you picked up mostly to share to coaches?
Off the record, Mark, what were they again? Because I feel like I've
It's all right. Sorry.
Because I know I said
no. I'll ask you the question again, and then I can just edit it. Focus on business growth was number 1, and then shift in identity was number 2. So I'll just ask you the question again.
Am I repeating myself?
No. I think one thing you'll do is say, I'm going to say, I was asked you to share 2 lessons, but there was one about identity that I think is a key one to share with everybody. So I'll just say, Eoin, just before we finish, I'd love you to share just one key lesson. And you mentioned it briefly, but it's quite a pivotal conversation that we actually had recently, all around the word identity. What is that lesson for everybody else?
How long do you have?
Brief it up.
Yeah. But like we spoke about this recently, Mark, and I even said to you on the call, you kind of pulled a lot of my internal perspectives around things out of my mind without me even realizing I was kind of thinking that way. And the perspective shift that I have had is just completely different, even 4 or 5, 6 months ago, less than 6 months, 4 or 5 months ago. And I don't think you can grow a business if you don't change as a person. Like you can't, as you hear all the time, there's different levels to certain types of things that you do, but you have to consistently grow and evolve as a person. And my identity shift has been more into what's actually possible from my business or for my business. Like the visual clarity of, I know exactly what I need to do now to keep moving in the direction that I want. And also just having a different perspective on the business in terms of saying, like I had that resistance towards doing everything because I felt like everything had to be done by me. Otherwise, it wouldn't be done to the level that I want. But something that you guys have helped me with a lot is that identity shift and perspective change to more of like an operator of a business as opposed to just somebody who's working in the business.
Oh, well, Owen, I can't thank you enough for today. It's been invaluable. I like to keep these shorter, but when there is so much value packed, I'll let them just go because there's so many gems that's going to help so many coaches. So Owen, thank you for joining me today.
Absolute pleasure, Mark. I appreciate it. And again, to reiterate, I know you're not telling me to say this, and I know I shouldn't be talking anymore. If you're thinking about joining the program, just do it. You're not going to have a single regret from doing it. You get actual one-to-one support that you typically don't get from any other type of mentorship like this. So just
Thank you,
do it.
Owen. Thank you. Legend, thank you.